So this was a piece of news that we talked about, I want to say about over 2 years ago. It was in relation to a Transformers video game that was being developed by the company of Certain Affinity. This news originally broke when Certain Affinity did a huge announcement at a Chinese technology and entertainment convention called the China Joy Convention back in August 19th of 2019. And they were announcing that they had recently got the license to the Transformers brand and that they would be working on a brand new A-tier kind of game. The scant information that they mentioned from their panel there at China Joy Convention was that it would be a free-to-play online FPS, that it would be available in China and the United States, and again, free-to-play 3D shooter, and that it would be possessing the G1/Evergreen likeness, but leaning more towards, and I quote here, the Transformers generation line between 2010 and 2012. So I'm thinking more that, that late generations thrilling 30 era of aesthetic. Now, this is not to be confused with what was going on in 2012 with the MMORPG by the company called Jagex that was doing that game called Transformers Universe, which never got past its beta stage. So it's not to be confused with that. This is a completely different thing done by the company of Certain Affinity. And for people who aren't familiar with that company, they were founded by a bunch of guys behind Bungie. Bungie was a video game company that had a huge history with Halo. And so when Certain Affinity was founded by them, they have been working on a bunch of Halo and Call of Duty related content between 2007 to today even. Now, this company is 20% owned by a Chinese company called Leiyu. And that's probably why this announcement was originally done in China, because Leiyu owns 20% of the company, and Leiyu themselves is owned by the monster conglomerate of the Chinese company of Tencent. And Tencent, it's a big company in China. They got a lot of controversy, a lot of censorship and security breach kind of stuff. That's all the good things that you could read online, but that's primarily why a lot of this news is coming out of China first. Now, that's all the stuff that we knew back then 2 years ago. They were pretty much trying to capitalize on the huge Overwatch and Fortnite hype that was going on over the past couple of years, where these FPSs that get huge followings, and these FPSs like Overnight and Fortwatch didn't have any kind of previously existing license. They were brand new things. So the logic would be, hey, take the FPS, the first-person shooter genre, slap the Transformer brand on it that's huge in China, make money. So the announcement came just a couple of days ago from the senior producer at Certain Affinity, Aaron Hamilton Cook. He did a podcast and he talked about the future of this Transformer game, because a lot of stuff went into quietness because of the big V and everything that was going on in the world between 2020 to today. So he talked about how the game was supposed to originally be called Transformers Impact, and then it kind of got the working title of Transformers Online, and that kind of stayed as the title for the longest time. And now it's going to be called Transformers Rise. Now, we don't know if that's related to the fact that we're going to be having a movie soon called Transformers Rise of the Beast, and they're trying to connect that. But based on the original material of what this game was supposed to be about, which had more of an evergreen G1 kind of flavor to it, I'm thinking it's more just a coincidence, if anything. And if anything, the Rise and the Rise of the Beast thing, if anything, it's more just to kind of have synergy between the titling. But that being said, we still don't really know what is going to be coming from this game. Again, all we have based on what was talked about 2 years ago was, again, it's a 3D first-person shooter, and that that it's going to be free to play. And if it's free to play, that usually means there's probably going to be loot boxes. There's probably going to be pay to have aesthetic changes. I'm going to assume, because it's Transformers, and I remember how Activision and High Moon kind of used to handle their online, we'll probably have something where you could customize your bot, and you could have certain looks and certain designs and certain colors, and you pay for that. But there'll be some kind of loot crate kind of gotcha system too, because China absolutely loves that stuff, and they make tons of money from it. So they'll probably have that in there somewhere. So it's free to play, but free within a certain limit. And we'll see what happens with that. So that's what we know thus far. Again, we know that it's still happening. We know that it has the new name now of Transformers Rise. And it's Certain Affinity that's behind it, which, I mean, on paper, their pedigree is pretty good. It's got Halo, it's got Call of Duty. So that's all the good stuff. It's all just a matter of how they're going to handle the brand if they are fans themselves and they do something really good. Because again, if history has shown when it comes to Transformer games, unfortunately, is that, you know, I'd have to say about 90% of Transformer games lean towards the, man, they're really bad to completely forgettable. I did a panel back in 2010 at TFCon covering every single Transformer game up to that point. And most of them people didn't even know existed because there's just so much of that. Yeah, sure, we got, you know, War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron. Those were stellar games. The DS versions of the Transformer 2007 movie, pretty decent. You know, the Devastation game, pretty decent. But in general, most of them were pretty forgettable. So it'd be really nice to kind of return to that High Moon, Activision, War for Cybertron era and get a really good game that the whole community could get around and have a good time. And again, because it has an online aspect, that really then puts the emphasis on community. So let's see what happens. From what we know, it's going to be Windows-based at the time being for this. So it's going to be PC, it's going to be Windows, which, you know, the install base on that, while it's still pretty strong in the Chinese market, I find in the Western market a lot more people are walking away from desktops and laptops and relying more on their phone and their iPads. So it's something that I assume at some point they're going to have to figure out a way to target either those markets or the console market with this if they want to find success. But as it stands right now, it's going to be a Windows product, but it probably, I mean, again, don't quote me on it, but they're probably going to open it up to other platforms to make it a lot more easier for everyone to partake in this. And again, it opens them up for them to make more money. Potentially Nintendo Switch, potentially some kind of, you know, platform like an iPad or something, or a tablet kind of thing. It really just depends on what kind of game they put together here. So, and it's all speculation at this point, but all we know right now is Transformers Rise is still happening. That's its current name. And Certain Affinity is working hard to make sure they give us something good. And I hope it's good. I really do, because during those War for Cybertron times, that was some good gaming for the Transformer community. So let's try to get back to that. Let me know what you think, and let me know if you're hyped about this.